Right. Well, so we're here with Kathleen Butler, and you are seeking which office?
I am seeking the at-large seat that is currently held by Carl Drost, who is not going for re-election.
All right. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your history, education, and if you like, your family?
Sure. So kind of my story, I guess, is I have been in Oskaloosa, I think ever since I've probably over 25 years now. So, and lived in other states, but prior to that, I also graduated from Oskaloosa High School. So I have my husband, Brian, we farm, my husband farms, and I, of course, work for Vermeer as the project manager and senior business analyst. So a lot of kind of working with different teams and solving the business's problems. That's kind of my business background. Our family, we have 3 kids. We have 2 boys. Colton is a 2020 grad from Oskaloosa High School, and Kale is a current junior at Oskaloosa. And then we also have Maya that is with us, and she's also a junior at Oskaloosa High School. And they're involved in numerous activities. So ever since my kids started in the Oskaloosa School District, I've been involved in the elementary school. I've held offices on the PTO, volunteered in the classroom, helped my teachers, whatever the school needed, I did. Kind of at the elementary level, middle school level, you kind of, at that time as a parent, you gotta let them kind of gain their wings a little bit, so you take a step back, but you still help provide different things that the school needs. You're not really maybe in the classroom in the middle school, because as you know, most kids don't want their parents in the middle school. But you help in other ways. So by providing, meals and different things for the teachers, taking the staff, donuts, just anything to kind of help their morale and help their life be a little bit easier. So that's kind of my involvement in the middle school. At the high school level, I've sat on the Oskaloosa Indian Booster Club board for the past 8 years, and I've served as treasurer on that. Get to work with a lot of great students and community members in fundraising for that group, which goes back to the middle school and high school. And that one has been in existence for the past 10 years. And we've given back almost $500,000 to the middle school and high school for different activities. So the tagline is many activities, one team. And I think we've lived up to that.
Well, very good. You're very busy. So, if elected, what do you see as your role as a board member?
My role as a board member is, one, to make sure that we can do the best for our district, know what those hot points are for the board, and with my investigation, I guess, of a lot, just conversations, I shouldn't say investigation, that's kind of a strange word to say, but my conversations with current board members or administration and kind of what they feel the top issues of the board are. Again, just making sure that we have the best education that we can offer our children. And that is, the main key points, keep on, measuring and making sure that we're succeeding at those goals or the goals that are given to us from the state. Also, school safety. All of us, want to send our kids to school and know that they're safe. So I think that's a big issue for the school, just making sure that who has access to our buildings. And of course, COVID, we've all been living that. So don't need to really mention that, but we've all been living it. And then just making sure that we have, that our buildings are safe. And that is the one thing. We are very blessed, I think, in our district to have a very good support staff. Our buildings, I would say, would put them up against anybody in our conference. They are very clean and hardworking people there. So I know a lot of them. I've got to work with a lot of them in all 3 buildings, just on different volunteer activities. So, and I think they're really, good at greeting people and making sure they know who's in the building. And then also just planning for their future. Even though my children, people are like, I've got that question too, why are you doing this? Your kids are almost done. Well, we have a lot more kids that are going to be, coming through our district, and we want to keep them in our district and not have them go to other schools, because we have really great facilities, some of the best in the state.
All right. So, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but why do you want to serve? I mean, you just kind of talked about that, but your kids are getting towards the end of the line here locally, but so you talked about why.
Right, and I think that goes back to the relationships that I've built. I think in every building, like I said, with the support staff, the teachers, administration, all of that is, they still have needs. Just because my kids aren't there, they still have needs or questions or help. So that's kind of one of the reasons that I'm doing that. And the schools they're the center of our community. And we are very blessed in this community to have the support that we do by local business and community members that are willing to give basically any time our kids or the schools ask. And a lot of communities don't have that. So we are very blessed here.
Do you see a weakness on the board that maybe you can kind of hope fill that gap a little bit?
Well, there's always room for improvement. And I think that goes back to my strengths that, I always want to kind of learn and improve stuff. So I don't feel like, I think watching the board in the past, either being there in person or even on the recordings, I think you see that they have a good camaraderie with each other, and are, like anything, willing to have some of those difficult conversations in front of lots of viewers. Mm-hmm. So I think that you have to be comfortable in that, and then also be willing to state your opinion and making sure that you do it respectfully, and then also making sure that at the end of the day you're part of a team player. You are one person on the board and you have one vote, and you have to come together at the team and do what's best for the kids and the district.
So what kind of challenges do you see that the district might have going forward? I know we've kind of touched on some of that. We watched one of them play out last night and we saw a board handle it, I think, very well. So.
Yes. Yeah, I think, we always have those issues that come up on the Return to Learn plan. And, I think those were, probably a lot of anticipation on what was going to happen. And like I said, I think the parents and the other people who spoke and community members that were there were all respectful and stated their opinion. At the same time, I think it was also good that, the board members, had rebuttal to those, also in a respectful manner. And then we watched the conversation play out. So, and I think that's how usually a good team operates and works. Some of the things I did also see last night is one of the other things that are top minds, I think, for improvement are student achievement. And just, again, coming out of this, it also relates probably to that Return to Learn plan, because we had so many kids that were not in our buildings, not, in the, trying to learn virtual, parents trying to work. And I mean, I know I've even commented, I'm glad my kids were the age that they were. And if this happened, I can see a lot of the, elementary age children, they need to help caught up. And one of those main core things is reading. And I think Angela Hansen shared that data last night about what we need to improve. And a lot of those are reading, math, and science. One good thing, I guess, our English language arts was better. So maybe a lot of kids took that time to reflect and write and do different projects. I know my kids did. We did all sorts of, different things, cooking and household, activities and, games. It was just kind of fun to see what all the other families were doing. But also knowing we have many kids in our district that probably didn't have those same experiences. So we would just want to make sure that, we have a safe building and make sure that we can keep that building open.
So there's a lot of positives. Folks might be a little shocked to know that sometimes, because we like to pick on things that are so, but there are a lot of positives. And what are you seeing from the district as far as those would be, and how would you build upon those?
I think one of the positives is, how resilient through all of this that our people have been. And, and I think you have to have a real heart for your job. And that's what I said, in a passion, and I think that's what many people in our district have. And some days you don't see them on the best days, but it's like coming through some of these worst days. And I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of teared up, but a little bit of that was, we've had people that have had to work very long hours and just trying to teach virtually, trying to make sure they're not leaving, getting all the kids the, access that they need and the supplies. And that is just something I think that we need to continue to improve on. Looking at some of those at-risk kids, keeping them in school, making it fun. And I think that's one thing that we have done, I know, in the last 4 years. When Kale went from the transition from middle school to high school, that was the first time I think I heard them say, you know what, not everybody needs a 4-year degree. We have these great careers and jobs that are available, and by the way, we'll train you while you're in high school. So maybe if you're a student that is maybe, you know, not on that college track, you can learn skills and do lots of jobs. And you know, and my son is one of those people that has, you know, gained from that. He was really versed in math and science and loved it. And you know, he's currently in the laser tech program at Indian Hills, and you know, something that, you know, I didn't even know. That's, you know, one of the top programs in the world, and it's just amazing how much stuff we have in our, you know, arm's reach of our community. So I think if the more we share that information with our kids, we have great jobs. I know one of my son's other friends is working as a welder, and he loves it. And you know, he works for Vermeer, and you know, we need good people. And I think a lot of our local communities here, you know, Musco needs good employees. A lot of our community members. There's a lot of great things here with HVAC. Any of those jobs, and I'm just glad that we're providing those now within the confines of our school with the career and technology program and the building and trades, because I also have a good friend, her son is doing that. So the building and trades, electrical, all of that, I'm just glad that we're able to provide that now in the confines of the high school environment.
Yeah, it's kind of been a shift, not a shift, but a diversity available for education for students, instead of focusing strictly on 4-year university.
Correct. And also we do have the college, the dual credit courses, and my children have taken, you know, many of those, and that saves a lot of parents money. They basically graduate with 1 semester of school if they, you know, do the dual credit classes. So there is a lot of opportunity there for kids to have those dual credit classes, and the English and the accounting, horticulture. There's just a lot of different classes that they can have that.
So a school district plays a major part of an entire community. So we saw the census come out, and Oskaloosa grew some. Unfortunately, Mahaska County had some struggles. So how do you see the district playing a role in making Mahaska County itself better?
I think we do that a lot by, again, increasing our services and recruiting people here. I think we have a lot of good businesses, and then also supporting those surrounding communities. I know we have good relationships with a lot of the other areas and making them stronger, the local communities. But again, some of our kids that we graduate from here are not just going to stay in Oskaloosa, they're going to branch out. And then hopefully at some point, you know, they go and get that experience, and maybe they do want to come back home. But we need to continue to grow our county. And I had this conversation, I think, with a few other people that, you know, when you travel, and a lot of these kids maybe don't get the opportunity to travel, and their phone and technology, that's their traveling. But if you ever get in the car and drive, you know, it's kind of interesting to go through some communities and their downtown districts, and just sometimes it's very sad. And we have a beautiful square, you know, beautiful businesses around it that people are supporting, and I just think that's one of the things. And I know we have people come here and visit, and I always laugh about the Hallmark movie, but they think, oh my gosh, our downtown is beautiful, you know. So how can we, you know, kind of radiate that from here and grow Mahaska County? Because again, our students live and work in lots of different areas of our county.
So, what role do you believe the school system plays in a child and family's everyday life?
I think we need to be that extension. You know, I think as a parent, I'm going to answer this one as a parent, because, again, my children, I would think, have a pretty, I would say, I don't want to say easy life, because there are rules and responsibilities that we talk about, but the main thing is, you know, when they're going to school on that daily basis, make sure that you're kind of being that friend, being kind. I said, you know, you don't have to be somebody's best friend, but make sure that you're kind of extending that arm and, you know, giving them that kind of safe place to be themselves. Because, you know, if they have a difficult home life, you don't want to make school more difficult. And that's, you know, kind of, I think, one of the hardest things as a parent. And I know our teachers have to live it on a daily basis, you know, seeing those kids that have to come to school and may not have their basic needs met. And that's why I couldn't do what they do. So I'll just tell you that right now. I can teach college kids, and I have done that, but I think that's part of the thing that we need to continue to be that extension. And sometimes we have to be more, and that puts more on the teachers, it puts more on the administration, and of course it puts more on the community. And I just know from a personal level, I have donated snacks, food, clothes to kids. I mean, I've gotten calls that, hey, we need clothes for someone, can you bring something? And so I think that's where it goes beyond the education part. You have to have empathy for those people that need that extra hand, or those students that need an extra hand, beside just, okay, we have this core education and these core goals that we need. It's kind of a balance. But then, it's kind of, that balance is going to be different for many people, and you're not going to make everyone happy, but you have to do what's best for the kids. And that's why I always start my thing. It's our kids, our community, our future. Because if we grant them some sort of grace and empathy, I think that's going to extend as they grow and become into that future workforce and make our community stronger.
All right. So we have 2 questions left, so we're in the home stretch here. So how would you impact the culture of the district? Does the district have an image problem? And how would you address those if they were true or you needed to address them?
I think we have a lot of great things going for our district. And of course, I'm going to tell you, I have a lot of optimism, and my passion is faith and methodical. And I've worked, like I said, the whole time since my kids were little, and started in the Oskaloosa School District, and now I have many, friends who have kids at the elementary, middle school. Just want to make sure to instill that sense of pride. And I've loved all the things that our school has done with teaching kids about the marketing and being proud to be an Indian. I think that's been a real, kind of switch. And I think that's, what's great about this. And some people, can say different things about the mascot and different things, but it's more about what is your heritage, what is that pride, and what are you teaching to bring forth. And so the the kids have the same experience, and hopefully it's a good one. And I know there's, everyone has a story, and there is probably things that we need to improve on. Like I said about our student achievement, and also enrollment. Why are those kids out of the district? Was it education? Was it sports? Was it, something, smaller class sizes? Or is it just they're going to operate in a smaller school? We can't maybe offer that compact, but we can offer everything else that a big school has to offer in a small setting. And I think that's what we've done a good job of in our district, is making sure that we have those little pods, so that kids can be more of an individual. I know my younger son, Kale, is an FFA. I mean, that's one thing I didn't know a lot about until the last few years. I mean, we've had 4-H, but not FFA at the high school level, so I've learned a lot about that program. So I think as you get involved in those different activities and learn some of the kids that are in that and what support they need, that's, all the groups, parents, and the community want to help, but we need to know, what does that future look like? And we need to make sure that we are having student achievement, so we can create those, the workforce of the future, and those students that are able to critically think and solve problems. Because at the end of the day, in the business world, it doesn't really sometimes matter what your degree is in, or if you don't have a degree, but are you able to do that? Because you can learn any skill, but you just need to make sure that you know how to solve problems and talk to people. That's also a thing that I think we're going to get more about on the communication, because everybody has their device and they're talking and they're typing, they're not talking to people. So I think if we can also teach communication and make sure that it's clear and concise, of course, and then that's 80% of anything that you do, is make sure if you can do that well, you can about do anything well.
All right. Well, this one is going to be your pick, because I know that everybody hopes that I'll talk about something or ask a question about, and I don't, and you really wanted to talk about it. So is there anything that I've missed that you really wanted to talk about?
I think just, our kids and our community, I think we really need to make sure that we support our local community. And however that is, making sure that you're volunteering on different committees. In the school as volunteer. I know I'm going to go and go back to the elementary. I haven't been in the elementary for a while with all the COVID and different things, but I still have good relationships with, the teachers that my children had, and I like that. My kids did retire a few, but that's all right. But it's just one of those that, kind of going back to those roots and seeing where it all started and where are they now. And I think that's part of, we need to give the kids, that kind of extension, even though they went through each of the buildings, but, they can always go back and help the other kids that are in that spot. And I think that's something that we need to do more of, is teaching the giving back, because we all have the same amount of time in the day. It's just a matter of how you use it. And, we kind of joke a little bit about social media. I know we talked about that a little bit. And, people always think, well, I thought you worked for the school. And I'm like, no, I just volunteer, just lots of different buildings. So I think that's part of, people have that, they think they might know something, but until you really get in there and dig in, that's just, the one thing that you learn about each of the buildings, just kind of like this role. I mean, I will probably have if I get elected, I'll have a lot of learning to do, a lot about, the state and how they operate on the state of education, but I've had to do that in my business role. I have experience in HR, I have experience in IT, and just in business alone, you have to make sure that you follow the guidelines and know what those are. And I think that's what this, what I think would be my role on this board is, I would be the one probably asking the why questions a lot, because I have a lot to learn if I get elected. But I think I also bring a lot of strengths, and those is that I'm an achiever. I like to make sure that I'm, if I have something I got to get done, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to have a list, and I really am pretty analytical about solving problems. And then also just making sure that I have a responsibility, again, to the people if they vote for me and elect me. But again, making sure that at the end of the day, we're doing what's right for our students in our district and our community.
All right. Well, I thank you for coming today and taking part in this, but also putting yourself out there to be an elected official and go through this scrutiny. So thank you, Kathy.
All right. Thank you, Ken.